Hello again, this is Dan Ritchie, developer of Project Dog Waffle Howler. I'd like to discuss with you this time some of the new blur tools that we have in version 8.2. Formerly, we had a filter under blur called the custom blur. This has been renamed. It has some new capabilities as well. It's also been ported to work on the GPU for faster results. I'm going to show you some of the new things we can do with this. Starting with an image I took last spring of some of the local wildflowers, and say I wanted to make a more artistic version of this using a depth of field effect like you would get on a film camera or a traditional camera or an XLR camera, where the subject in focus is what we want to bring our attention to, and everything else we want to push into the background by making blurry. And in the past, this was somewhat difficult to do. You'd have to use an alpha channel and a Gaussian blur, and the result would never really look quite right. It would look kind of more like a weird ghosty effect instead of looking like an actual depth of field effect. So we've added a new tool that is able to automatically adjust the size of the blur based on the alpha channel instead of just making it a transparency effect. So I'm going to use the alpha selector tool. Under selection, there's the selection fader tool, and what this does is it sort of creates a gradient in the alpha channel, basically just like using a linear gradient tool. I'm just going to click and drag, starting with the area I want to keep in focus, and then I'm going to drag up to the area I want to be blurred out. Or rather, I could work the other way. I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with the area where I want to be out of focus, drag to the area I want to be in focus. And that will be a little easier. I won't have to reverse that later. I'm going to go to that new blur tool under blur, and there it is. This is the feature formerly known as the custom blur, and it was called that because you could create a unique shape, not just a circle or a Gaussian shape, but you could create a shape such as a polygon or a star or a triangle even. You do that by using this edge filter over here. And let me make the radius a little bit bigger so we can see that I have a square right now. And as you can see, we're blurring what is in this alpha selection, and the part that we don't have selected is remaining in focus. And you can also see we're not getting a weird ghosting effect as if we were just pushing this through some kind of alpha channel, but we're actually basing the size of this blur kernel over here on this alpha channel instead of using it as a transparency effect. So that's a new capability we have. So I'm going to go ahead and select a shape with 6 edges, or maybe 8. I think I'll go with 6 for now. Hexagonal. Say that you took a picture with a camera that had a iris in it, and the shape of the iris was hexagonal. You would get that sort of a blur. You could go up, I think, to 8 edges, and I'm going to change this bias so that we get more of a very sharp edge. And you're starting to see this even now, these little shapes. And if you ever look at a photograph taken on a film camera or a higher quality XLR camera, whenever you see this depth of field effect, you might see these little reflections in here. It's actually a reflection of the shape of the iris inside of the camera. I'll change this intensity so we're getting more of a regular looking hexagon shape, and it's still kind of blurry looking. I want to change this now in a higher dynamic range image. These little reflections would bloom a lot brighter because the intensity of that particular area in the scene is a lot higher than what we're getting in just a regular 8-bit image. So we actually have the ability to trick this a little bit by using a threshold. The threshold is the the highest value or the lowest value that you want this bloom effect to take place. The bloom actually is a multiplier. I'm going to turn that up, and I'm going to take the threshold down just a tiny bit. This is 0 to 235 to 255. 255 being the highest value, and I'm going to take it down just slightly below 255. And now you see these brighter colors are actually being multiplied quite a bit. So we're starting to get this higher quality, just like you would get in a traditional camera. These bloom effects that are shaped like a polygon, and we can ramp this up a little bit more so they're more intense. And this is one way of creating a very natural looking effect, as if it were taken with a film camera. Don't want to overdo it, or we're starting to get a little blown out. But as you can see, this is one way of creating a very nice looking, artistic looking result. Before, the entire image was in focus because it was taken with a digital camera that had a very deep focus. But now we're getting this sort of result. Let me clear the alpha. As if the photograph was taken with a higher quality camera, where the object in focus is the object of interest, and the background is out of focus and very lensy looking, very natural looking, as if it was taken with a lens system. And another thing we could do is also make the foreground out of focus to make this even more realistic looking. So I'll do the exact same thing I did before with the selection fader. I'll go to the foreground and select just a little area there. Let me redo that. I'll start at the very bottom and go up to the top, to the middle there, and I'll just redo what we've done. Blur, select that tool, go ahead and reapply it. That's a little bit too much. I'll actually take that bloom down in this case because it's blowing that out too much. But as you can see, those are some of the new capabilities we have in Howler 8.2, and I hope you've enjoyed this one. I sure enjoyed making this one, and we'll talk to you again later.